So this is Palworld, huh? This is just Pokemon. Well, let's see what it does different. You want to know the number one thing that separates Palworld from Pokemon? This game is like Conker's Bad Fur Day in the sense that you start the game thinking you're going to be playing an innocent little kid game like Banjo-Kazooie, only to see bro shit-faced drunk and pissing all over the place. In Palworld, you think you're going to be playing a sweet innocent game about catching creatures, only to discover
slavery.
Day is never finished. Master got me working. Someday Master set me free.
I really walked into this game with no expectations, and I left with like 100 hours. This game pretty much surprised everyone, and the Steam charts just speak for themselves. I mean, an all-time peak of 2 million players? That's insane. The backstory to how this game was created is even crazier. Palworld was created by developers who were learning what they were doing on the job. Originally, Pocket Pair, the development team behind Palworld, wanted to make the game using Unity, but it was too laggy, and they had a lot of technical issues, so they switched over to Unreal. But nobody knew how to use that shit, so they learned as they were making the game. So you mean to tell me a small team who were learning on the spot are able to compete with the likes of Nintendo and the largest media franchise of all time and create a game that's more polished than most AAA games coming out right now? How is that possible?
I didn't think it would be a good fit at Nintendo. I want to make big things that are groundbreaking and creative. I'm a trend follower. What's your creative vision? I don't have a creative vision. I just want to make a game that people like.
Oh, well, there you go. So is the hype justified? Is this game actually good? Will I have to put down one of my pals for not following basic instructions? Let's find out. Just from the character creation alone, I can see why it gets compared to Ark, because look at the monstrosities you're able to make here. They look almost as bad as your mom. If anyone's played Ark, you already know how horrendous people make their character. So I guess Pocket Pair was right when they were saying Americans like to make their characters ugly. Right when you start the game, it basically lets you do whatever you want. Catch pals, chop down trees, mine rocks, even kill all the But after playing for a few minutes, the inspirations from other games became pretty apparent. You got the dodging mechanics of Elden Ring. There's even bosses you can fight that can be pretty tough. The open world is very similar to Breath of the Wild. There's even gliders, and you can climb on nearly everything too. The survival and building mechanics of Ark as well. But honestly, it's better because you don't have to wait for your dinosaur to wake up. In Palworld, you commit domestic abuse on the pal you want, and it's yours. It's more considerate of your time. You would think that a game that borrowed so many ideas from different games would be nothing more than a desperate attempt to capitalize on what's already popular, while bringing absolutely nothing to the table. But you'd be wrong. There's been a lot of games in the past that try to compete with what's trending. We saw this when Battlefield tried introducing a battle royale, and that flopped. And then the same thing with Fallout 76 trying their own battle royale. But this is one of those rare instances where Palworld is able to stand on its 2 feet and go toe-to-toe with the biggest media franchise of all time. Not because it's a cheap knockoff, but because the game is actually fun and it's not broken. We got games coming out like Skull and Bones that's $70 and apparently the first quadruple A game, and it's already considered the worst game of the year. Suicide Squad, which was supposed to be a live service game, it's already dead. Do I even need to mention the day before? That fucking scam? Palworld, a game that was made by people learning as they developed the game. Free on Game Pass and $30. But before I get ahead of myself, let's keep talking about why the game is actually good. On the surface, the game may look pretty simple, but if you dig deeper among the pile of pals who didn't know their place, there's more to it. You can have pals working in your base and they can be in charge of a particular task. The water types can water your crops, the grass types can plant the seeds, the fire types can cook or smell resources, but that's simply not enough. Each pal has a certain level when it comes to the efficiency of the task they perform. So if you want a pal who has a high level in handiwork, which is crafting, then Anubis is great because it has level 4 handiwork. But there's more. Pals can have passive skills which can give them buffs on certain abilities that they have. So this Anubis can craft even faster if it has the Artisan passive skill. But why stop there when you can also give your Anubis the Work Slave passive skill so it can go even faster. But don't stop there. You can also give it the Serious passive skill so it can go even faster. Now we're making some progress. Look at that speed. But what's better than 1 Anubis? 3 Anubis. But if you want the Anubis early game, you can't simply catch one because the Anubis boss is too high of a level. So you gotta start breeding the hatched Anubis from an egg. But how do you do that? Go catch a sweeper and breed it with a Tombat, which you can only get at night because some pals only spawn at that time. But make sure the pals you're breeding have the passive skills you want so it can get passed over to the egg that actually hatches. But you're gonna need spheres to catch those pals. How do you get spheres? You craft them, or you can throw Vixies in the ranch and they drop spheres for free. Or you can buy spheres from the merchant, but you need coins to buy things. How do you get coins? Well, throw these cats in the ranch and they drop coins. Did I mention all the possible combinations of pals you can use to breed? Yeah. this game can be kinda complex. I spent most of my time breeding to get the best pals I could have working in my base, with all the passive skills that increase work speed, and that shit took ages. Once I got all the pals I wanted working on my base, I had to lay off all my old co-workers. This goes for the pals you can ride too. I wanted to get a Fangalope to ride around the map, but not just any Fangalope. One with all the speed passive skills, so I can just start zooming everywhere. So I had to catch so many of these fucking deer so I can breed it to get a Fangalope with the skills I wanted, and that took hours. It was worth it because this thing can leap across anything. Don't get me started on the Ragnarok. That took longer than I even want to admit. Pretty much every pal I had in my party, I bred to get the passive skills I wanted. The Fox Parks. Look how many I had to catch to be able to get the one I wanted. Do you think I'm proud of this? What's satisfying about the worker pals though is just seeing them all do their daily tasks in your base. Everything kind of just becomes self-sustaining, and they really do save you a lot of time since they do nearly everything for you, especially if you have them working under brutal working conditions. If they get sad, well, we don't accept weakness. Or you can just give them antidepressants, but that's no fun. Meanwhile in Ark, your dinos for the most part just stand around your base as if they pay the bills. Again, this game respects your time. Another great feature is when you're crafting in your base, you don't need to have the materials on you. It grabs them from any chest you have within your base. That just saves so many trips. In Ark, that only becomes available if you have dedicated storage, but you don't unlock that until the end game. This game is just way less time consuming. Why go on a metal run or go mine stone when your pals can do it for you? The moves your pals can have, they're called skills. You can get new skills from the skill tree. Oh, there's no menu for it. The skill tree is literally just that, a tree. You thought I was kidding? You can even swap out your pal skills too. I mean, this game is technically not even out. It's early access, and it's more polished than fully released AAA games these days, and now quadruple A games. It really is just a fun video game. Wildcard, the team behind Ark, released Ark again, naming it Ark Ascended, which is just a prettier version of the original game. It uses Unreal Engine 5, but all the same bugs in the original are there. You just get to experience them in a much higher quality now. It's like putting sprinkles on a pile of shit. Anyways, back to pal skills. Pals have partner skills, which is just an ability you and your pal can do together. Main reason I really wanted a Fox Parks was because you can pick it up and use it as a flamethrower. This cute little thing can be used as the same weapon that does this. I could sit here all day and talk about how Palworld is better than Pokemon because, well, that shit would be easy as hell. But one of the many things it has over Pokemon are these partner skills. It gives every pal a purpose to use and makes you curious which one can do the craziest thing. In Pokemon, you got Bulbasaur. What can that little pussy do? Throw grass at your face? You see this little guy? This is Liftmonk. Look at him. You wanna know what he can do? This right here is why Palworld is competing with Pokemon, because it's able to do things Nintendo would never even conceive of implementing into their games. You really think in Pokemon games you can just go up to anyone with a gun and shoot them in the face? Also, you think you just catch pals in this game? You can catch people. Hear me out. It is kind of useful because if you catch merchants, you can have them walking around your base to make you sell you things. There was even a person who made an entire city with just people walking around, and it looks better than the actual settlements by developers. Now, I'm not recommending this, okay? I'm just saying that the option is there in case you need to, but you can sell people. Again, I'm simply saying it's a feature you can do in the game. But if you need to spare coins, there's a high return on investing in this. I'm just saying. Palworld kind of explores the dark themes Pokemon kind of just sweeps under the rug. And you mean to tell me Blastoise has these two big-ass cannons and he can't just... Palworld really is the Pokemon game that should have come out after Pokemon Arceus. They were taking a step in the right direction and then fell off a fucking cliff with the next games. Unlike Pokemon games of the past where you tap a button to make them fly or attack, you can actually fly and attack with your pal. If you have a Snorlax blocking the way in Pokemon, you gotta find another way around. If there's something in your way in Palworld, no wonder this game blew up. Pokemon with guns would definitely turn a few heads. Even the concept alone is just insane. The day I see a Pikachu with a fucking AK-47 is the day my dad comes back. So never. Hey, that goes for other pals too. You can shoot missiles, use a minigun, sacrifice your innocent little penguin to be used as a rocket. I'm really only scratching the surface. There's like 111 pals with their own abilities, personalities, and interesting descriptions. We could talk about Palworld stealing or copying the ideas of Pokemon because, well, some pals are a bit too similar, let's be honest here. But most of the pals do have original designs, and they can have relatable and funny personalities. Like Depresso. Look at him going hard at work. Honestly, I don't even think I should kill him. I think he'd actually want that. Pokemon lately has just felt so... The pals here are kind of how I wish Pokemon would act fact. Seeing these cute little creatures walking around almost makes me feel bad for killing them. Almost. Now don't get me wrong, the game isn't perfect and it does have issues. It's very annoying when I want a pal to do a specific job and it gets distracted and does something else. That's why if you want a pal to do something specifically, you should just have a pal that does one thing, like kindling. Falling through the floor was another problem, and when I would load up the game, this shit would happen. Whatever the fuck happened here. But I'm willing to look past these issues because the game is early access done right, and they were learning how to make the game as they went. And it still ended up being years ahead of what Pokemon is right now. This is a good time to bring up the state of gaming, which maybe I'll make a video on. So why is Palworld making better innovations in the creature catching genre and like 10 years ahead when it comes to Pokemon? The same reason Ubisoft keeps releasing Assassin's Creed, Activision pushes Call of Duties every year, why there's a shitty sports game every year.
Money!
Gamefreak doesn't need to push the boundaries in their genre because there hasn't been any competition, not even close to the same level as Pokemon. For over 20 years, while many others try to outshine and compete, Pokemon still reigns supreme. Nobody that I knew gave a shit about anything else. Nintendo basically has a monopoly right now. They can sell you the shittiest game imaginable, but if it has the name Pokemon on it, you'd still buy it. Because really, what other option is there? With that in mind, they know a shit ton of people are gonna buy the latest Pokemon game, even if it is a broken mess. Scarlet and Violet is pretty much unanimously considered the worst game in the series, and it still broke records for Nintendo. So it's a stretch, but maybe if Nintendo sees the success of Palworld and future creature catching games, they're gonna have to get off their lazy asses and make some positive changes. They were on the right track with Pokemon Arceus, but I guess decided that was just too much work. Even the graphics on the latest Pokemon games look literally, and yes, I mean literally, decades behind.
You can literally take assets from Scarlet and Violet and drop them into Mario 64, and it doesn't look out of place.
Something's not right here.
I've said this I don't even know how many times in this video already, but Palworld is more fun, less buggy, and it feels like a breath of fresh air. It's cheaper than quadruple A games now. I mean, it's better than Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is technologically inferior to Assassin's Creed Black Flag, a game from 11 years ago. You can't even swim in Skull and Bones. It looks like indie games are taking over the gaming industry right now. You got Lethal Company toppling every big studio. It was made by one person. Then of course Palworld, and now Helldivers 2, which I'm probably gonna have to buy a PS5 just to play. Hopefully Palworld continues to grow with updates and the developers keep supporting it because they cooked up something real special here. Maybe this will even get Gamefreak spooked enough to make them realize that they can't keep throwing shit at everyone. Anyways, what did you guys think? Do you dislike or like Palworld? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching.